When did you realize that you were the problem? When I got punched, and everyone went and shook the hand of the puncher. TF did you do this? I need answers. I was the bully, I never realized it until that moment. My best friend got bullied a lot in school and I always wondered how the people couldn't realize what they were doing. How does that happen? In my case I saw myself as the victim because of my parents were going through an ugly divorce when I was in high school, plus my cousin, whom I was quite close to, dying. I ended up taking it out on other people, because making them feel as shit as I did gave me a momentary thrill. Not an excuse, just another reason why some people are assholes. I noticed my friends were all getting happier, advancing in life, and I wasn't. This one really hit home for me. Even though me and my friends are still in each other's lives, I can see the transition happening. I feel this way too. All my friends are at uni or working and have new friend groups and are finding their way. I've been stuck trying to get to uni for 3 years this September and I doubt it's going to happen. I just don't have the motivation to really do anything. I know I'm the problem. I want to change and put more effort in, but I just can't. I realized I have a hand in every situation in my life, that I am always responsible for myself. Any situation I encounter, I have a choice as to how to handle, respond, and perceive it. I was probably 17 when I realized blaming everyone else for my issues is what my parents do, and I don't want to be anything like them, so I took a step back. I used to blame every issue I had on anything and everything I could find. Every apology was filled with excuses, diluting and justifying my conduct, until one day I realized that people don't want excuses, they want apologies, and so then I learned to fix that. Then I realized, people don't want apologies either, they would prefer if problems and arguments didn't happen in the first place. 17 is such a young age to learn that. Well done. Some people live their whole lives and still never come to that realization. I fairly recently realized I'm fat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I'm fat. Either way, I'm the only one who can fix it, and I have started giving a fuck. I had a similar realization. A lot of things that hold me back are related to my insecurities, and a huge insecurity I've had all my life is my weight. I won't let it anymore. It's a cruel and vicious cycle. Edit. Yes, it was that reference. Where do I begin? My father was a relentlessly self-improving boulangerie owner from Belgium with low-grade narcolepsy and a penchant for buggery. My mother was a 15-year-old French prostitute named Chloe with webbed feet. My father would womanize, he would drink. He would make outrageous claims like he invented the question mark. Sometimes he would accuse chestnuts of being lazy. The sort of general malaise that only the genius possess and the insane lament. My childhood was typical. Summers in Rangoon, luge lessons. In the spring we'd make meat helmets. When I was insolent, I was placed in a burlap bag and beaten with reeds. Pretty standard really. I realized I was the problem a few years back when I had the coolest fucking therapist in the world. She would say how she couldn't possibly give a fuck about my feelings, she only cared about results for me. Coolest lady ever, and I miss her so much. Anyway, she told me a saying, and the saying goes, you have every right to be angry but you have no right to be mean. My life got so much better after that. Edit. OMG, I did not expect this post to blow up like this. You all are too kind. For the record, she is not my therapist anymore because she had no benefits in the position that had her give me therapy. Health dental real people needs. She ended up referring me to someone else and she went to go work with prison inmates. Lucky inmates. You have every right to be angry but you have no right to be mean. So simple, but so easy to forget in the moment. I said some kinda mean shit to Nex last week that I feel real bad about. Wish I'd read this then. It's really good to keep in mind. Edit. Not asking for advice. Thanks. Realizing I was very toxic towards so. Broke up with my partner after having the same discussion for 2 months without getting close to resolving it. My main reason for breaking up was that he was not able to have constructive conversations in order to work conflicts out. When we decided to meet up 2 days after the breakup and have one last conversation, we both realized that the topic of our fighting has not been the issue, but that our way of interacting with each other had become super toxic. For me it was a shock that my behavior was very problematic too. So we got back together and are working hard to be in a healthy relationship with each other. Edit. Reading through the comments, I feel like I need to add some information to explain why I decided to give our relationship a second chance. I love my so, but because of our inability to resolve discussions on small things, I felt we were not compatible. Before we had our last conversation, I was fully convinced he was the problem, not me, i.e. I felt very misunderstood a lot, but then we talked and self-reflected and I realized my behavior is at times terrible too. We also realized our style of showing affection is different. So we do not always notice the full extent of one showing affection to the other, which creates insecurities on both sides. We decided we do not want to treat each other like that and both felt really willing to work on it together regardless of it working out. If it does, great. If it doesn't and we break up, that's okay too. I do this for me because I feel like it is important for my, as well as my so's, personal growth regardless if we stay together or not. Recently, whenever I'm angry at my girlfriend and discussing it with her, all she does is apologize. Over and over again. First it made me think that maybe I'm justified in my anger because she's so apologetic, when in actuality my mood swings are becoming more and more frequent and I'm getting more and more angry over the dumbest shit. A few days ago it hit me why I never see changes in her behavior. I keep finding different and increasingly inconsequential shit to get mad about, regardless of what she does. Made me take a couple steps back and reevaluate my behavior. Edit. Thanks for the medals, guys, but most importantly thank you kind strangers for all of your positivity and advice. If I thought I was aware of my actions before this, boy did these responses really open my eyes. If you or a loved one is experiencing something similar, take the steps to fix it now before it's too late. I am extremely fortunate to have such a patient and loving girlfriend who makes all of this possible. I really can't express how much she makes all of this possible. It's only through her patience and our many discussions about it that we've had breakthroughs. Love yourself and others unconditionally and surround yourself with others that do too, and changes will start to take hold. For clarity, I'm not clinically diagnosed. However, my father is manic bipolar, and I'm his carbon copy. I've been fortunate to have a case study in him my whole life. Fairly certain that I'll receive a similar diagnosis when I begin seeking professional help. My ex-husband did this to me all the time. This is what it's like from the other person's point of view. I got yelled at for not cleaning the water from the top of the metal between the two sinks. I didn't tuck in a chair, and rather than him saying something like "Can you please tuck in the chair, it really bugs me," he got up, aggressively tucked it in with an angry grunt, turned to me and went off on how tired he is working and then going to the gym and he has no energy to clean up after a pig like me. Every Friday on the way home from work, I'd have a nervous conversation with myself, call him and ask if he wants a taco salad too, or just decide. If I did call, I'd get, "Why do you have to ask me about everything? Don't you have a brain?" If I didn't call, I'd get, "What? You can read my mind? Don't make decisions for me." We had a deal that if I missed my bus home from work, he'd pick me up from the train, a 3-minute drive from home, rather than wait 25 minutes for the next bus or walk 20 minutes uphill home. If he was in the middle of cooking, he'd answer the phone angry. Pick me up, not wanting to say hi or kiss me. So, I stopped calling for a ride. Once, I waited 25 minutes in the rain without an umbrella as I had lost mine and forgotten to buy a new one, and then walked 5 minutes from the bus stop home in the rain. When I got in the door, he yelled at me for not calling him. "What? You think I'm such a bad husband that I want you to get soaking wet rather than call me? Or are you trying to make me look like a bad husband? Nothing I did was right." It's quite abusive behavior. If you are truly changing this, good on you. My ex-husband never realized he was the issue. I always did the wrong thing and he always felt he was right to blame me, yell at me, and call me names. Just ended my relationship like this 2 days ago and feel so relieved. I was in your same position and finally had enough. It's sobering to read similar experiences. Congratulations on getting out. Save that comment. If you ever think about going back, read the comment again and remember why you're better off without that person in your life, even if it's difficult getting started on your new life. I wish you much happiness. I dated a guy who was of the nothing you do is good enough variety. If I didn't wash the dishes, why didn't I wash them? If I helped him clean something, I was taking his task away from him and not doing it well enough. If I wasn't paying attention to him when we were out with friends, he would feel bad, but also why did I wanna spend so much time with him? If he said something that hurt me or offended me, it was my problem. If I did something he didn't like, I got a talking to. He mentioned he needed to get a mousepad. I got him one with a picture of his favorite food on it. I thought it was cute, and he proceeded to be an asshole for the rest of the night, asking me why I got him this, why I would think he'd like it, etc. I wanted to go on a 2-day trip once. He proceeded to make the whole thing as difficult as possible and didn't even apologize about this crap. Good riddance to trash. Wow, there's a lot of shitty people out there. I am very lazy and my husband does a lot of housework and watching our child. I sleep a lot. The reason behind this is depression. I'm not just trying to be an asshole, but I seriously feel incapable of doing anything on some days. Well, we got into a fight once because he was saying that he is overwhelmed and could I just do the dishes because that would help. I was arguing, don't you understand that I just don't feel capable of doing the dishes. After that argument I was sitting there thinking about it and realized the toll I was taking on him. I also realized how bad my depression had gotten. Got up and did the dishes and made a therapist appointment the next day. I've been doing the dishes every day since. It's small and I still need to help more, but I finally realized that I was the problem. It hurt, man. It really hurts to realize that. I hope you get the help needed. But my advice to you is to make the effort. It will go in part to helping you cope. The task may be annoying, but the guilt is worse. My best friend used to joke that I was creepy, pathetic, and worthless. Then one night they got drunk and confessed they had really meant it all the time. I decided I needed a new best friend and went out and found one. After about a year they let me know I was needy, boring, pathetic, and worthless. Second time was the charm. Ouch. This hits home for me. Throughout middle and high school, I would bounce around best friends, and they all eventually had the courage to tell me I was incredibly clingy, boring, and generally uncomfortable to be around. This, of course, didn't stick until my senior year of high school, but eventually I realized that my self-worth and happiness was far too dependent on being around them constantly. Luckily, I'm still close and better friends with some of these friends now, so I did learn better. It's tough to identify problems in one-sided relationships, but in these cases, I was the one who was overbearing and had too high expectations. I'm just glad my friends were nice enough to let me know and not just avoid me. I do wish I changed my social behaviors more quickly, but oh well, that's high school for ya. Hope you're doing better, OP. How are you doing now, OP? Good days and bad days. More bad than good currently. Trying to learn to be happy on my own. Hard to not let what they said be the last thing I think about when I go to sleep and the first thing I think about when I wake up. I'm admittedly still working on this. I had a huge amount of childhood trauma and abuse, and cut the obvious abusers off in my teens. The real progress didn't happen until I cut off the less obvious toxic people as well as the people making excuses for them. After I stopped allowing others to mistreat me, that's when I realized I was making myself unhappy. For a long time, I thought I'd learned that I was the reason for my unhappiness, but I still continued to complain and make excuses for not doing what I wanted, and being who I wanted to be. It felt impossible to stop indulging in self-pity. It's taken a lot of practice to learn to identify when I'm entertaining that victim thought process as it starts. I still slip up sometimes, but I've gotten a lot better at it. I've gone from crying every day and calling out of work at least every 2 weeks, to, if anything, a 5 to 10 minute pep talk in my head when I start feeling down. If someone had told me 3 years ago that I'd be as content as I am now, I never would have believed them. I feel like an actual person with interests and hobbies. I'm learning who I am, and I'm starting to really admire who that is. I can enjoy myself when I'm alone, and most days I'm truly grateful for my life. I feel like I probably ended up a bit off topic with this, but I'm posting anyway, lol edit. I usually hate these little thank you edits, but I totally understand them now. Lol, I'm so happy that this was helpful to people. You guys are fantastic also. Here's the cliche thank you for the silver. I was so stoked to see that when I woke up this morning. Thank you Stanger. I was really drunk one night, laying in bed trying to sleep, but all I could hear was insane traffic noise. Sometimes I can hear the road through my window, but this was crazy. Sirens, people shouting, tires rumbling. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but the shouting got louder and louder. I opened my eyes to look outside and see WTF was going on. All I can make out is a police car blocking the road and a policeman running towards me. I'd fallen asleep on a mini roundabout. Edit. Since a lot of people are commenting. I wasn't driving. I was walking somewhere before I fell asleep in the road. Possibly home. Possibly to another pub. Who knows? Stop telling me drink driving is bad. Wow, that must have been a quick sober up. Yeah, he did a full 360 at the roundabout. You had to do it, didn't you? I took some Xanax after drinking some alcohol, woke up to a police officer opening my door. This is sad, but when I had to sleep behind liquor store dumpster on an empty pallet. I was a histrionic egotist who had so many bridges burned I had to swim. Life has gotten much better since then. Histrionic egotist, you've come a long way. Histrionic personality disorder, HPD, is defined by the American Psychiatric Association as a personality disorder characterized by a pattern of excessive attention-seeking emotions, usually beginning in early adulthood, including inappropriately seductive behavior and an excessive need for approval. Just copied it from WikiHow. As I approach 30, I realize that I have gifted child syndrome, and my success in high school and college theater productions mean nothing when I'm not putting in the groundwork to have a career. Part of that was depression. Part of that was liking to get stoned every night. This is it, chief. Even had academic awards going through school and just realized I didn't need to work hard. The bad thing about being smart is you never really have to use it. Double quote. Whoa, can you explain more by what you mean? The worst part is you never really have to use it. If you're naturally smart, you rarely get intellectually challenged, so you never learn how to work hard. It's like a muscle that you never learn how to exercise. In my case, I flew through school at the top of my class for nearly every subject, but eventually hit a level where my natural intellectual resources were no longer sufficient. But I had never learned to study. I didn't know how, and it was too late to learn. I couldn't. I just fell apart and flunked out. Just today actually. I noticed everyone was having a good time, and for small reasons I found myself getting upset. I just felt a cloud over my brain getting darker, and I didn't understand why. We were all having a good time at the park. Maybe no one will see this, but I realized I was the problem when I almost ruined my dad's surprise party by staying in my bed and making my family late, and in my mind I was always thinking they deserve this for what they've done to me. They weren't always there when I was a kid, but now they try to be and I push them away. I'm trying to be better with them, but it just hasn't been the same, cause we got in an argument that day and some tears were shed. Hey, it's good that you have worked to better yourself. When 3 exes back to back over the years were the ones who broke up with me. They couldn't handle my mental breakdowns and outlashes and self-victimizing and broke it off because they were tired of it. One after the other, it fueled my self-pity until I got tired of the same old story myself. I'm currently with an amazing woman and we've been together for a little over a year now, the longest relationship I've ever been in. Her patience and unconditional love and support with my depression and episodes helps me try to be better and catch myself self-destructing because I don't want to lose another person in my life. I've gotten a lot better over time, but I know I still have a lot of work to do. Mental health does not excuse and give a pass for outlashes. Think of your loved ones and how they get affected by it and apologize to them when you're better. Actively be better for them and yourself. My friends confronted me and told me, and then I apologized and began to work on fixing it. My friends did the same thing, only I reacted defensively and drove them away. Ate 2 edibles that were stronger than I realized and kind of had an epiphany with myself in the mirror. That my life and myself weren't where I wanted them to be, and I was the only one who could do anything about it. So I am. Looking in the mirror always gives me the WTF are you doing with your life thought. Looking into the mirror 15 years ago and realizing how much of a jackass I am. Don't get me wrong, I'm still an asshole, but I did grow up a tad. Time for the next step from asshole to jerk. I don't know about a specific time, but a good rule of thumb I follow is if one person is in a bad mood, they're in a bad mood. If everyone is in a bad mood, I'm the one in the bad mood. Sometimes it's hard to self-diagnose, but that helps me a lot when it comes to work. When I got fired from a volunteer position teaching at an inner city elementary school that I'd moved across the country for. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets greased. Edit. It was City Year, an AmeriCorps program. I moved out there after college to get some direction and do something for the country since I am not cut out for military service. Lived on people's floors and in my car for the first couple of months while I worked at this elementary school in North San Jose. I taught reading and worked in after school, which was run by a lady who was pregnant and increasingly crazy as the pregnancy progressed. She had it out for this one kid and put him in seclusion, telling us that nobody was to help him when he asked BC he was just looking for attention. Well, the kid asked me for help and I helped him. Jackie got mad and chewed me out. I told her she was bad at her job, amongst other things, and complained all the way up the ladder about her. A few days later, I got disinvited from attending my position. City Year told me that if I worked a 40-hour week at another volunteer position while everybody else went to the national convention in Boston, I'd be able to finish out the last 2 weeks and get my educational stipend since I'd already completed the required number of hours. I did the 40 hours working at the San Jose Housing Consortium, but when they got back, they dismissed me anyway. Should've just kept my head down and shut up and finished it out quietly. Hard lesson, but fuck City Year anyway. To be fair, as someone working in a failing urban school district, I can tell you that it brings the worst out of people. Children can be absolutely vicious. With their lacking brain development, they are terribly self-centered for most of their schooling age. And so your normal adult coping and communication strategies break down quickly when faced with a human that is so self-centered that they just don't respect even the most basic of human needs you have. And when people run out of strategies to cope in a healthy and effective manner, they turn to less great strategies. They become mean or vindictive people. They drink. They do drugs. They become mean to their co-workers. They take it out on parents. They take it out on the kids. It happens. So even if there are parts of yourself that play into the problem, do realize the setting can too.